Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to the 13th episode of the Max Danielsen Show. I'm your host, Max Danielsen, and it will be a solo broadcast today. We didn't have a scheduled guest, but that's okay. We got a lot to talk about here on the broadcast, especially with Major League Baseball and all the signings that have happened this week. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. So for the Texas Rangers, they signed Jordan Lyles to a 2-year, $16 million contract. Last year, Lyles for the Brewers went 7-1 with a 2.45 ERA. Really a very, I don't know how to say it, a very under-the-radar signing for the Rangers. Definitely their bullpen and their starting rotation need updates and upgrades, more specifically. But right now, Jordan Lyles is looking like their fourth starter. 7-1, not bad, but then again, who knows what the Rangers could do with him. Maybe they turn him into a bullpen guy. I have no clue, but for now what their rotation is looking like, it's going to be Mike Minor, Lance Lynn, Kyle Gibson, and then Jordan Lyles, which isn't a bad rotation. It's not the best rotation in baseball, but again, not a bad rotation to start out for the Rangers. But right now the Rangers have a lot of cap space and have not really used it to their advantage. They have signed some under-the-radar guys like Jordan Lyles, and I know they got a guy from Japan, Joylin, so we'll see how that works. He dominated in Japan this year. I want to say he had just under a 2 ERA, and I know the Rangers are looking out for a couple third basemen. Maybe they trade for a big guy, who knows what they do, or they go for someone who's going to fit their timeline and then just try to make minor adjustments from there. But we'll get into kind of what the Rangers are doing this offseason here in a bit. But one of the big signings, there were really three of these that came this week, and that was Steven Strasburg being re-signed by the Washington Nationals on a 7-year, $245 million contract. This was basically going to solidify that Garrett Cole was going to get a major offer from whoever were to offer them or offer a contract to him. Last year went 18-6, a 3.32 ERA and 33 starts. But for the most part, the big news for Steven Strasburg came in the postseason with a 1.99 ERA, and that led him to winning the World Series MVP and was really a major part for the Washington Nationals starting rotation along with Max Scherzer. This was undoubtedly who the Nationals needed to sign. They can make up for Anthony Rendon. They will, and we'll get into Anthony Rendon here in a bit, but right now, it would have been very, very hard to fill the shoes of Steven Strasburg. And I like the signing, and I like the way that they went out of it. And right now, the Nationals could be looking at getting Josh Donaldson, but then again, there's a bidding war between the Texas Rangers, the Atlanta Braves, and the Los Angeles Dodgers. So we'll have to see how that works. Another pretty decent signing came for the Phillies, where they got Didi Gregorius on a 1-year deal. Last year, he hit .238 with a .276 on-base percentage, .441 slugging, and 16 homers. I know he was beloved by a lot of Yankees, but at the same time, the fans wanted him gone. And for the Yankees, it won't be that bad because even though Didi Gregorius was a guy who was going to give you consistency in the lineup, they can as well replace that. They got Gleyber Torres in your lineup. You also have Aaron Judge, Giancarlo Stanton. You also have Gary Sanchez, DJ LeMahieu, and you also have guys in their farm system who are still getting brought up. So right now the Yankees are in a pretty good position, and just in a bit here we'll be talking about how they're even in a better position right now. But for the Phillies, getting Didi Gregorius is really big. Not only is that going to reunite Joe Girardi with his former player, but that's also going to upgrade their infield and their batting rotation. So right now, the Phillies might be a team to really watch out for this year. We said that last year, but with Harper having a down year and then as well Jake Arrieta having a down year, it didn't really help them. But right now you have Zach Wheeler, Jake Arrieta, and Aaron Nola in the starting rotation, which is extremely good. If Jake Arrieta could bounce back, that could be another humongous starting rotation. And then again, you also have guys in your lineup like Rhys Hoskins, Bryce Harper, and then Didi Gregorius, just naming those three. I know they have so much more in their lineup. Going on then, this was an interesting signing to me, and I was very surprised that this guy didn't get a major league offer, and that's Adam Jones. You might know the name because of his time with the Orioles. He was, as many called him, Mr. Oriole. He signed a 2-year, $8 million contract to join the Oryx Buffaloes of the Nippon League in Japan. Personally, like I said, I'm very shocked that no team offered him a contract. I get that he's getting old and everything, but at the same time, he is still an amazing defensive player and is at least going to give you some type of bat in the lineup. So definitely stinks that Adam Jones is not going to be playing Major League Baseball next year, but who knows, maybe after those 2 years he does get re-signed. Kind of like what happened to Hunter Pence this winter when he went to the Dominican Republic to play in winter ball. So back onto the New York Yankees, they got even better with signing Garrett Cole to a 9-year, $324 million contract. Last year, he went 20-5 with a 2.50 ERA in 33 starts. He also finished second in the AL Cy Young Award race and then had a staggering 326 strikeouts. For the Yankees, this is a big, big-time move. I mean, a lot of people saw Garrett Cole going to the Angels of all teams, but him going to the Yankees just upgrades their entire pitching staff as a whole. They could be looking at losing Dylan Betances here, but at the same time, knowing the Yankees, I don't really know if they'll let him go, especially the fact that Betances is such a major part of their bullpen. But we'll just have to see as this offseason continues. While we're on also a topic, going back with the Texas Rangers, they traded away Nomar Mazara to the Chicago White Sox for outfield prospect Steele Walker. He went to Prosper High School in Texas and as well went to the University of Oklahoma. He looks like a pretty solid prospect that, if really can pan out, is going to be humongous for the Texas Rangers. And from reports, a lot of people are saying that the Rangers are getting more calls about Walker than Nomar Mazara when they were trading. So definitely a lot of teams see some upside for him. For Nomar Mazara, last year batted .268, had .318 on base percentage, .469 slugging with 19 home runs, 66 RBIs in 116 games. This is really going to be an interesting move for the Rangers. Number one, it clears up the whole outfield problem because now Willie Calhoun's going to be an everyday starter, which is really, really good in my opinion because I believe Willie Calhoun is a really, really good piece that they got a couple years ago. And I'm really, really excited to see how he pans out. And we saw this year that when given the opportunity, he's going to do some damage in your lineup. But more specifically, if Nomar Mazara pans out, this could really, really backfire. Now, Nomar Mazara did have 2 mediocre seasons or the past 2 seasons have been mediocre with the Texas Rangers. But at this point, it's good for the White Sox because not only do they get a bat in their lineup, but they also get a great outfielder and are going to improve their outfield. So definitely both teams can win in this trade, but at this point, I see the White Sox winning more. We'll go on here to the Milwaukee Brewers. They signed a couple guys. We'll get into the second one here in a bit, but they signed Josh Lindblom out of Japan to a 3-year, $9.125 million contract. And since the year 2015, he's only pitched just a little over 10 major league innings, and that might surprise you and think, why are they signing him to a deal? Doesn't seem consistent. Well, in Korea, he went 20-3 with a 2.50 ERA, and for a team that needed a bullpen in the postseason, this is really going to help them. Because I don't see the Brewers putting him as a starter right away. I think they're going to introduce him into a relief spot, probably a long reliever, and then maybe introduce him into the 4th or 5th starter spot. But we'll just have to see how that goes. But especially, you need pitching in that team. You have an infield coming up through the farm system, and then you also have MVP back at 2018. Should have been this year if he didn't get injured, Christian Yelich. So we'll get into another minor signing for the Brewers that's really going to help them here in a bit. For the Los Angeles Dodgers, they signed Blake Treinen to a 1-year, $10 million contract. Back in 2018, he was considered as one of the best closers, if not the best closer in baseball, with a .78 ERA and had 38 saves and 80.1 innings pitched. Though last year he had a little bit of a shaky year, going with a 4.91 ERA and 58.2 innings pitched. This could be really, really big for the Dodgers, especially if Blake Treinen pans out to what he used to be. This is something that the Dodgers need. And every single year we keep saying they get that last piece. Now they're going to get over the hump. But the question still goes to, are they going to get over the hump? And right now, I think if Blake Treinen can really develop to where he used to be, or get back to where he used to be, I shouldn't say develop because he's a very developed player, but if he could get back to where he needs to be and where he once was, I think that's going to be really, really big for the Dodgers. And hopefully, I mean, if they make the postseason, it all depends how he does in the postseason. We know Clayton Kershaw is, well known for playing terrible in the postseason. We know as well a lot of Dodgers are too, but we'll just have to see how that all works. And for right now, it's definitely going to be interesting for the Dodgers, because if this really does pan out, this is going to be maybe the biggest steal of free agency. Now, it's not going to be the best signing of free agency, but it will definitely be the biggest steal. Going on to the New York Mets, they signed former Cy Young Rick Porcello to a 1-year, $10 million contract. Last year went 14-12 with a 5.52 ERA. Along with Porcello, they got Michael Wacha from the Cardinals, who was very, very dominant in his rookie season. Both really two good pieces for the Mets to sign, especially when you lose Zach Wheeler in your lineup. You need to get guys who are going to make up for that. So definitely both guys will probably be in the starting rotation. They might push out one of their starters. I have no clue. But right now it's looking like Syndergaard, DeGrom, Porcello, and then Wacha. I don't know who their fifth starter is. Oh, Stroman. Hello, Max. Sorry. Marcus Stroman. That's gonna be your five starters. I've totally blanked on Marcus Stroman. Completely forgot about that. But honestly, that's not a bad rotation at all. I know last year didn't really have a defiant fifth starter. They had the four starters. So now that they have the full starting five, that's really going to be good for them. And especially, we'll see how Carlos Beltran does in his first season as a manager. Do I think he's a step up from Mickey Callaway? No. I think, honestly, they're going back in the same direction. But time will tell about that. Time will tell. Going back on to the New York Yankees, we see a lot of these come back up. And this was a no-brainer to me when the Yankees re-signed Brett Gardner to a contract extension. Last year, hit .251 with a .325 on-base percentage with a .503 slugging, 28 homers, 74 RBIs, 141 games. Brett Gardner, of course, is beloved by Yankees fans. I have the highest respect for Brett Gardner. Great outfielder, great defensive outfielder, and really consistent bat in your lineup. So this is definitely going to be good for the New York Yankees to keep him around as well. Still brings in the veteran leadership that the young Yankee team really, really needs. Moving on to a very big set. This was the 3 of 3 big signings that happened this week, where the Angels got the MVP caliber player, or I believe he finished second in the he finished third in the NL MVP race, and that is Anthony Rendon to a 7-year, $245 million contract. Last year, hit .319 with a .412 on-base percentage, .598 slugging, 34 home runs, 126 RBIs, and also had a .328 postseason batting average. Right now, the middle of the lineup is looking extremely, extremely scary for the Angels. Now, there is a humongous problem for the Los Angeles Angels right now, and that is starting pitching and pitching as a whole. They don't have a bullpen. They don't have a starting rotation. They have really 4 guys. You have Shohei, you have Albert Pujols, you have Mike Trout, and you also have now Anthony Rendon in your lineup. Plus, you also have Andrelton Simmons. You also have Tommy La Stella and a couple other guys in your rotation. Now, they did lose Cole Calhoun, which will be interesting to see where he signs up or where he ends up going, if he decides just to call it quits or if he actually signs with the team. But But right now for the Angels, they need it. What I've heard is they're trying to trade for Corey Kluber and get rid of a lot of their infielders that they don't need right now. But the problem is, I don't really feel like the Indians would just take those. They're going to ask for something even more than that. I really don't see. I definitely see the Indians asking for La Stella, but other than that, they're going to be asking probably for a top prospect in their, or maybe a couple top prospects in their farm system. And if the Angels do that, I don't know. I feel like for sure the Indians will be asking for Joe Adell and Tommy La Stella for Corey Kluber and maybe someone else. But that's my opinion. I think that's honestly who they would have to give up. And at this point, the Angels don't need to give up Joe Adell because he is going to become a very, very solid outfielder in Major League Baseball. For the Tampa Bay Rays, they signed Yoshitomo Tsutsugo to a 2-year, $12 million contract. He had till December 19th to sign a contract. And for the Rays, this is actually a really, really good signing on a guy that not many people knew was in free agency. Batted .272 in the Nippon League last year with 29 home runs, 79 RBIs in 139 games. For the Rays, this is a guy who is going to help replace Tommy Pham. And trading him to the Padres came as a surprise for me and my former guest last week, Matthew Wells. But this is at least going to bring back some type of bat to the Rays lineup. And I really, really like this signing. I was hoping that the Rangers were going to sign this guy. But for the Rays, very, very good signing for them. And then finally, one that came through last night, the Brewers signed Brett Anderson to a 1-year deal. Last year, had 176 innings pitched, 13 starts, went 13-9 with a 3.89 ERA. Again, this is a very, very under-the-radar signing for the Brewers and is really helping them build up the rotation. Brett Anderson going into your starting rotation is going to be huge, especially the fact that he pitched 176 innings last year and had just a little under a 4 ERA. He's going to produce for you, and he's going to give you a chance to win. And especially when it comes postseason, that's something that the Brewers need at this point. So looking at free agency as a whole right now, there are still many, many guys available. On the trade block, you have Chris Bryant from the Cubs, Nolan Arenado. You also have Nolan Arenado from the Rockies. You also have Carlos Correa that's apparently on the trade block from the Houston Astros. Dylan Betances from the New York Yankees. Kyle Seager from the Seattle Mariners. David Price from the Boston Red Sox. And then Josh Hader from the Milwaukee Brewers, which for the Brewers, they're going to be asking for a lot of guys for Josh Hader, especially considering the fact he is a very, very consistent closer in Major League Baseball. We'll just have to see how that works. And then for free agency, there's still Josh Donaldson on the board, Dallas Keuchel, Madison Bumgarner, Nick Castellanos from the Cubs, which is looking like he might be going to the Rangers, which would definitely help them at first base. Heejin Ryu, another piece that the Rangers might be going after, especially if they want starting pitching, which desperately they need. But the real question of today's podcast is, why can't the Rangers sign someone big? And is JD a terrible GM? And the answer is yes to all of those. And really, by all those, I just mean that JD's a terrible GM. Ever since Nolan Ryan left, he has not really done well for the Rangers. Basically, trade away Ian Kinsler for Prince Fielder, and at the time seemed like it was a good deal, but unfortunately, one thing that John Daniels forgot to look at is Fielder's injuries and how prone he was to that. So if Fielder wasn't as prone to injuries, I think that would have been an amazing trade. As well, we remember 2016, where he absolutely blew up the entire farm system to get a push for the playoffs. Not the smartest of moves there by John Daniels. Ended up costing a lot. And Carlos Beltran was a rental. Jonathan Lucroy the year after just did not pan out well. And then we ended up trading Jeremy Jeffries right back to the Brewers. So at that point, and as well, Cole Hamels ended up trading him to the Cubs later on. So right now the Rangers are in a really, really bad hole here. And as well, he signed guys like Shin-Soo Choo and Elvis Andrews to mega contracts that even though they are still producing for the Rangers, they're not worth that much money. And really the big signing that has came since was from Adrian Beltre, but that was also when Nolan Ryan was still at the helm of everything, helping out JD. If I'm the Rangers, if he doesn't get someone big this offseason, it's time to get rid of him. It really is, because JD has this mentality that he wants to get better, but he's playing Billy Beane baseball. And what Billy Beane baseball is, for those of you who don't know and have never seen the movie Moneyball, that is the want to get better but don't have enough money. And in which case, it's not the Rangers don't have enough money, it's the Rangers have enough money and a plethora of it, but they don't want to spend that money because John Daniels just does not want to spend a dime in free agency. Even though this season he came off saying that they're going to spend big for a third base free agent, and they missed out on Rendon, also missed out on Garrett Cole. Now, there's still a lot of big things. Maybe they go out, get Nolan Arenado or Chris Bryant. The question is, how likely is that? And that is highly, highly unlikely, especially knowing how John Daniels is as a GM. But it really irritates me, and I know it irritates a lot of Rangers fans, that the fact that this happens every single year. And it's kind of like Dallas Mavericks free agency and Mark Cuban, because entirely Mark Cuban's the one calling the shots here. It's not Donnie Nelson. And we've known that. That's how the Mavericks lost out on the Greek Freak, because Mark Cuban wanted to save $400K on money instead of getting Giannis to get Dwight Howard, and we know how that worked out for them. But right now, John Daniels is in a really, really tight situation. And if John Daniels could come out of this free agency, maybe get Hyun-Jin Ryu or get a guy like Nolan Arenado, I think it would be a very, very successful free agency. Now, if they stick with Kyle Gibson and then go trade for JD Davis, that's going to be a big, big fail for free agency, and it's really going to show that the Rangers aren't ready to, well, right now they still aren't ready to compete, but they were never ready to spend in the beginning. So that is going to do it for that. We're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we're going to be talking about the NFL and as well as some college basketball and football. So don't go anywhere. We will be right back. An official sponsor for the Saturday podcast. Gage's Granite is a family-run company operating nearby in the Dallas Metroplex. They offer custom granite, travertine, onyx, and marble countertops to homeowners and businesses since 2000. Give them a call today at 972-243-6097 or visit gagesgranite.com or on Facebook and Twitter. You can also stop by the main showroom located at 2427 Glenda Lane in Dallas. Gage's Granite, a proud sponsor of the Max Danielsen Show.
Hey guys, this is Jason with Lacrosse Monkey. Are you looking for a place to shop for your next athletic season? Monkey Sports is here to help. Whether you're looking for baseball, hockey, or lacrosse gear, if you can dream it, we've got it. We provide both the latest and best on the market equipment for your athlete. Stop by and visit us at 105 West Bethany Drive, right off of US 75 in Allen. Monkey Sports, a proud sponsor of the Max Danielsen Show.
And welcome back to the Max Danielsen Show. Where we left off, we were talking about we were talking actually about Major League Baseball. Sorry, jumped there for a second. But now we're getting into NFL football. And for the NFL, Lamar Jackson is just dominating this season. He's showing why he's considered an MVP caliber player. And as well, he broke the QB single-season rush record and surpassed Michael Vick's 1,309-yard record beforehand or prior to the season. And as well, he got a win over the New York Jets this past Thursday by the score of 42-21. In that game, Jackson went for 15 for 23, 212 yards, 5 touchdowns, and as well rushed for 70 yards. Right now, the Ravens and especially Lamar Jackson are looking unstoppable. Lamar Jackson is showing why he deserves the MVP for this season. Other contenders for that, of course, Russell Wilson, Pat Mahomes. You also have, Christian McCaffrey should be up there for sure, but he's probably not because this is a QB-oriented league anymore. But right now, this is looking like the Ravens' possible year to really upset the Patriots and go to a Super Bowl. And that will be the first time since 2013 where they won their first Super Bowl. And it would be really, really big for the Ravens to get back to that position, and especially where Lamar Jackson gets to really showcase himself on the big spotlight. So right now, just to run through the standings so far for the AFC East, the Patriots are leading with a 10-3 record for the AFC West. The Chiefs are leading. They clinched that, so they're automatically the AFC West champions with a 9-4 record. For the AFC North, Ravens also clinched their 9th straight playoff berth and are now 12-2. They also clinched for that. For the AFC South, the Titans and Texans are tied with an 8-5 record for first place. Going over to the NFC, for the East, the Cowboys and Eagles are tied with a 6-7 record. That's all going to come down to their final matchup of the season with the Cowboys and Eagles. For the NFC West, it's a very close race with the 49ers in first place with an 11-2 record, followed behind by the Seahawks with a 10-3 record. Same thing with the NFC North. Packers lead with a 10-3 record, followed by the Vikings with a 9-4 record. And then the Saints clinch the NFC South with a 10-3 record. So right now, the NFC is up in the air. Anyone can win at this point, but for the AFC, it's definitely looking like the Ravens are going to be the team to beat this year, and are really going to be considered the strong powerhouse for this team, or for this league. So whoever the NFC is represented by, they will most likely have to either go against the Ravens, or if Tom Brady does it again, against the Patriots. The Dallas Cowboys released their kicker, Brett Maher. This year, kickers have just been really, really inconsistent, except Justin Tucker, even though missed one just a couple days ago in the Thursday night's game, but that was his third miss in his entire career, and as well Adam Vinatieri. A lot of these kickers have just been getting the yips this year and have been missing when it matters, and now these games have come down to one missed extra point or a missed field goal, and for the Cowboys, that's something you don't need, especially when you're trying to win the NFC East, and it's very close, and frankly, either team should not be in the playoffs because 6-7 records don't deserve that. They don't deserve to make playoffs. That's a third place team, but then again, the NFC East is probably the weakest division in football. But for the Cowboys, this needed to happen. Brett Maher was a liability for them, and not only is he a liability, but Jason Garrett's a liability for them. And right now, the Cowboys are just a huge hot mess. And for the Cowboys to really get back to where they were back in the 90s dominance is going to take a lot, all right? They do. It's happened every single year. They have pieces, but it's the Cowboys. They will never win a Super Bowl until the day that Jerry Jones either retires or passes away, or the day, or actually, no, I'm just going to say that. Until Jerry Jones retires or passes away, Cowboys have no chance to Super Bowl. I'm sorry. They just don't. They're not good enough yet. No matter who they get as a coach, it's just going to be a step backwards for them. It really will be. And until they really get an owner and a GM that knows what he's doing, it's just not going to be good for the Dallas Cowboys. I really don't see them even competing for a Super Bowl within the next 10, 15 years. I really don't. Maybe after that, yes, but at this point, they're about to sign Dak to a $40 million deal. That's going to lock up a ton of money. And the same thing is going to happen that happened to the Seahawks, where they lose a lot of pieces, and now they've rebuilt it, and now they're back to prominence. But then again, that's Seattle, and that's what they're known for doing. The Cowboys are not known for doing that. The Cowboys are known for having talent and not being able to get there. And especially the Cowboys have dwindled away their future with all the draft picks being traded out, and as well all the money being locked up. So we'll have to see about how that works for them. But for the Carolina Panthers, they signed linebacker Shaq Thompson to a 4-year, $54.2 million contract. He now becomes the highest inside linebacker in the NFL. Shaq Thompson, great linebacker overall. He's a really, really strong player. Knows what he does. He's not a Pro Bowl talent just yet, but eventually he will be. And this is a really great step in the direction to where the Panthers need to start going, especially with the fact that the Panthers are really a one-man team. And then this offseason will probably look to trade away Cam Newton. They need defense. And to keep one of their stronger defensive players, that's going to really, really help them this coming offseason to figure out what they really need to do. Going on to college basketball, really big upset this week where Texas Tech upset number 1 Louisville by the score of 70-57. This is the third number 1 seed to be upset within the past month and a half. That was, of course, Kentucky losing to Evansville. Then you have Duke losing to Stephen F. Austin just a few weeks ago. And now Louisville losing to Texas Tech. And I'm just going to say this. It's going to be exciting this year for March Madness, especially if we're seeing this many number 1s already go down. It's going to be a fun one this year. So definitely have to look forward to that. That's something to look forward to here in just a little under, a little under 3 months here, and especially this is where the whole hype of March Madness is going to start in exactly 3 months. So that'll be fun to watch. Moving on to college football, on the other hand, the football playoff was announced with LSU earning the number 1 seed, Ohio State with the 2 seed, Clemson with the 3rd seed, and OU with the 4th seed. It's the first time Alabama will miss the college football playoff. For some people, that is a dream come true, and for others, especially Alabama fans, it is a nightmare that they never want to live again. As well, for many of the conferences, they had their conference championships last week, so here's a couple of them that won their conferences. Oregon won the Pac-12, OU won the Big 12, LSU won the SEC, Clemson took the ACC, and then finally Ohio State took the Big 10. All these teams are going to be, of course, in bowl games. They've already qualified for that. And especially these 5 teams, have really been dominant this year and have been up towards the top 10 for each of these teams. So it'll be exciting to see where they all place out. The only team that was not in the college football playoff was Oregon, and at one point they were ranked as high as, I want to say, number 5. I want to say right now they're 6 or 7, but I could be mistaken. And then a couple head coaches were signed by teams that were needing that. The first one here I have is Ole Miss hiring FAU coach Lane Kiffin. A pretty good signing for Ole Miss. Hopefully could get them back to their dominance of what they once were. In his 2 seasons at FAU, he had double-digit wins and also won the conference. The problem for Ole Miss, and you'll see this problem as well when we get to more SEC teams, is the fact that they are in a really, really tough conference. Ole Miss, I really don't think should be in the SEC, and they should be looking to get out of it. But especially having bringing in a coach that's experienced, who's going to get you wins, and who knows how to win a conference championship, even though probably won't happen for Ole Miss with SEC. It's really going to help their program, and maybe they can rejuvenate what they once had back in the 90s and that dominance they were once known for. Moving on here, for Florida State, they hired Mike Norvell, went 12-1 at Memphis. Great signing overall. Same thing for Florida State with what could happen to Ole Miss. Hopefully, with this signing of Norvell, he can really turn around this organization, this college, and really put them back on the map to where a couple years ago Florida State was really a big powerhouse football school, and now that's kind of just whittled away over the past couple years. So hopefully he can get them back to their reestablished place, but we'll just have to see. But I really like these 2 signings so far. And then Memphis hired Ryan Silverfield. He was the O-line coach under Norvell for 4 seasons, and as well has NFL experience with the Lions and the Vikings. This is the guy who Memphis needed to hire to replace Norvell, especially the fact that he has NFL experience. Memphis is going to be in really, really good hands. And then the final signing, and what I think might be the best signing for college football coaches, is Mizzou hiring Appalachian State coach Eli Drinkwitz. He spent 1 year at Appalachian State, and you know the story. They're ranked this year. They went 12-1. This is a really, really great signing for Mizzou. If they were in the Big 12, I would put them as one of the top teams to look out for next year. But just like Ole Miss, they are right now in a position in the SEC where they got to face teams like LSU, Alabama, who's going to come back bigger and better than ever next year, especially now that they have a chip on their shoulder. And as well, they have multiple other teams in that conference who are going to be out to dominate. But right now, Mizzou and Ole Miss, with those two signings, are really going to improve their football team and could be a dark horse team for the SEC. Possibly, maybe ranked teams next year. I have no clue. Just depends how they go about their recruiting class. But definitely is going to be interesting and fun to see how they develop. We're going to take another quick commercial break. When we come back, we're going to be talking about the NHL and as well a little bit about the NBA. So don't go anywhere. We will be right back. The Max Danielsen Show is proud to announce Gage's Granite as an official sponsor for the Saturday podcast. Gage's Granite is a family-run company operating nearby in the Dallas Metroplex. They offer custom granite, travertine, onyx, and marble countertops to homeowners and businesses since 2000. Give them a call today at 972-243-6097 or visit gagesgranite.com or on Facebook and Twitter. You can also stop by the main showroom located at 2427 Glenda Lane in Dallas. Gage's Granite, a proud sponsor of the Max Danielsen Show.
Hey guys, this is Jason with Lacrosse Monkey. Are you looking for a place to shop for your next athletic season? Monkey Sports is here to help. Whether you're looking for baseball, hockey, or lacrosse gear, if you can dream it, we've got it. We provide both the latest and best on the market equipment for your athlete. Stop by and visit us at 105 West Bethany Drive, right off of US 75 in Allen. Monkey Sports, a proud sponsor of the Max Danielsen Show.
And welcome back. Where we left off, we were talking about the NFL as well as some college football and basketball. We'll jump right into NHL with a big news break that happened this week where the Dallas Stars fired their head coach Jim Montgomery due to inappropriate behavior. Last season, the Stars were extremely good, made it to the Stanley Cup playoffs. Believe made it to the Western Conference Western Conference Finals, and then lost to the St. Louis Blues. And then this season started off really, really shaky, and then came back to a 17-11-3 record. And this comes as a very, very big surprise to a lot of Dallas fans, especially the fact that Montgomery really was turning around the Stars and helping them really, just become a better organization. Ever since Lindy Ruff left, they really needed to fill in that gap. And when they got Jim Montgomery, I knew he was going to be a very, very good coach for the Stars. And at this point, we don't know why he got fired. They had Jim Nill, their GM, had a press conference this week. He really went around the whole situation and just said that it was something bad and that they aren't going to say what happens, but we all know it's going to come out. So it was supposedly something about a radio show which came out to be false. So we actually have no clue what it could be. But whenever it does come out, we know it's something. Now, what it's reported is it's not been building, and it's not just something that's been reoccurring. It's something that happened once. So it's got to be something so bad that it happened once and needed to go. So whenever that comes out, it's going to be big news, whether that be in the next couple days, whether that be in the next couple weeks, maybe the next couple months, or maybe within the next year. Who knows when it'll come out, but eventually I feel like it will definitely come out. Speaking of another team firing their head coach, the San Jose Sharks fired Peter DeBoer. Really didn't have the same success as last year. They're on a 5-game losing streak as of now. During his time, he went 198, 129, and 34. In his first season, brought the San Jose Sharks to a Stanley Cup, and ever since, they've had the pieces but just have not been able to get there. Of course, they have Eric Carlson and Brett Burns as their defensemen. You also have Evander Kane in your lineup. You have your old captain, Joe Thornton. Of course, nowhere near where he used to be, but, he still is a really good hockey player, and he's still a big part of the San Jose Sharks. Just right now, the San Jose Sharks, this needed to happen for them. They need to get rid of Dubois and really get a new coach that is going to rejuvenate this lineup, especially because they have the pieces that they need. It's just the problem of how do they use those pieces to get to where they are supposed to be, where they're projected to be. And right now, it's not looking good for the San Jose Sharks. If they can get a quick, good head coach, maybe that might be they go and say, you know what? Whatever that inappropriate thing might be, we're going to hire Jim Montgomery. I don't think they would do that, especially they don't want that media attention. But who knows at this point? I know Jim Montgomery is a great coach, and I would not be surprised if I read a headline that Sharks signed Jim Montgomery. Would not be surprised about that, especially the fact that now he's out on the block, and there are some NHL teams looking for a head coach. He fits the description of a really, really good head coach and is going to turn your organization around. Some sad news that came out from the Philadelphia Flyers last night. Oscar Lindblom was diagnosed with bone cancer. Last year came out in his rookie year and just dominated with 17 goals, 33 points. And then this season tallied 11 goals and 30 points. We wish for a speedy recovery. It stinks, especially with a young and really upcoming player like Lindblom to be diagnosed with that. I know he will be back soon. And it'll be awesome when he comes back. I know the Flyers are really going to miss him in his time of absence, but he is going to come back and he is going to be better than ever. He really will be. And I'm excited for when he comes back, and we just hope for a speedy recovery. Of course, prayers up to Oscar and his entire family as they're going through this time. But some news that was really breaking this morning and as well last night is that the New Jersey Devils MVP candidate player Taylor Hall could be in trade discussion. This has been building for a couple weeks, but really last night they sat him out for their game, and a lot of people were speculating that he would get traded. Right now there's been no trades made at this point, but we don't know what could come out of that. I think that eventually we are going to see Taylor Hall be dealt, whether that be at the deadline or as recent as next week or within the next couple days. It's shocking, especially coming from the New Jersey Devils, the fact that Taylor Hall has really been a key part to the Devils franchise and has really helped them get back on their feet. And as well, they have guys like Nico Heiser in their lineup who are doing extremely good and are really just dominating on all cylinders and are really proving why they're going to be a really nice young team here within the next couple years. Moving on to the NBA, former NBA Commissioner David Stern had an emergency surgery following a brain hemorrhage while eating at a restaurant. I believe this was on Thursday. Some very sad news to hear about that, especially I know a lot of owners hated and a lot of owners respected David Stern. I know the Lakers fans do not like David Stern, especially when he vetoed that trade for Chris Paul to go there. And that was, I want to say just a couple days or a week ago or so. It was like a week since that whole veto trade, which would have just entirely changed the surface of the NBA at that point. But of course, just like Oscar, prayers up for David Stern and his family during this time. Hopefully David Stern has a speedy recovery and that we hear from him within the next couple weeks. For the Portland Trail Blazers, they had a humongous blow happen to them recently with the injury of Rodney Hood. He tore his Achilles tendon. This season, averaging 11.5 points per game, 3.5 rebounds per game. This is really going to hurt the Portland Trail Blazers as he was becoming a key piece to their rotation, especially Portland just got Melo. He's doing extremely well right now and has really found a fit with them. Damian Lillard and as well CJ McCollum, they're dominating as per usual. And as well, they might be going out and getting Kevin Love, which would really help them, especially getting a big-time power forward of what they've needed since the departure of LaMarcus Aldridge just a few seasons ago. But for Rodney Hood, this is a really, really big blow for him and the Portland Trailblazers, especially as now he was just really heating up and becoming a big factor for the Trailblazers this season. And then finally, a couple nights ago, Luka Doncic was the first player to have a triple-double outside of the United States when they played in Mexico versus the Detroit Pistons. And it was a very, very good game, to say the least. In that game, Luka Doncic, what did I just say there? Luka had 41 points, 12 rebounds, and 11 assists. As well, Seth Curry just absolutely dominated that game. At the half, had 23 points and finished with 30. Kristaps Porzingis had 20 points, 8 rebounds, and absolutely posterized Andre Drummond. If you have not seen that, I highly recommend searching that up on YouTube. It was a monster dunk. And then finally, Dwight Powell had 9 points, 10 rebounds. Powell has really become a really, really solid key piece for the Mavericks this year. And has really been a dominating force. He's really fit into the starting role especially well, whether they put him at starter or whether they bring him off the bench, which is, I feel like, what they've been doing a lot more this season, but they've been divvying it out where he's been starting some games and then starting off the bench some games. So right now the Mavericks are in a really, really good spot. I believe they're either number 2 or 3, or right now I believe they're 3rd in the Western Conference. A lot of people said this team would be a bottom feeder team for the playoffs at least. But right now they're establishing why they deserve to be considered for one of the top teams in the West to beat. It'll be fun to watch Kristaps and Luka this season as well. This dominant performance by Seth Curry is going to be fun to watch too, see how he plays out, and as well to see if Dwight Powell can continue his success throughout the year. So that's going to do it here on the Max Danielsen Show for today. I thank you for watching. If you're listening to this in the morning, make sure to tune in to collegetvticket.com. I will be calling the Austin College Lady Roo and Roo basketball games this afternoon at 2 and 4 p.m. You can find that by going to the Austin College website, acroos.com, searching under the schedule for the women's or men's basketball teams, and clicking the video link, and it will take you to College TV Ticket. And you can listen to me call the games, talk about sports whenever possible. And then that's pretty much going to do it. Thank you for, again, listening. Next week, we'll have a really, really nice host on the show. That will be Jack Bradley, the Rice football tight end, the freshman. I call him German Jesus because when he played basketball, I believe it was his junior year, had long hair, kind of like Dirk Nowitzki, and he's as well 6 foot. I want to say 6'8". So he'll be on the show. We'll be talking and debating a lot about sports, especially talking about his time at Rice, how he's like at college so far. The week after, we will have Aaron Hunter on the show, who is a Lamar a JUCO baseball player at Lamar Community College in Colorado. We'll talk to him a little bit about baseball, and then finally, to end off the winter break, we will talk to my former co-host on Jam Sports, the man, the myth, the legend, Jared Hedges. So that will be fun to watch and relive the old days, and especially for my Bishop Lynch listeners, that will definitely be a podcast to listen to, and I will be expecting a lot of viewers, more than usual, on that podcast. That's going to do it for today. I thank you for watching. From myself, Max Danielsen. And as always, have a pleasant good morning, a good afternoon, or good evening to you, wherever or whenever you may be watching. Thanks, y'all, and have a great day.